unit. You can even call it a unit. And then you strategize and work alongside that. And there's nothing harmful. I mean, there's nothing difficult for a government to do than to always come and talk and give ultimatums the way you are just hearing, the way it's being given.
Yes. Although we do have the anti-stock theft unit,
which is now very weak. Those days it used to be stronger in the previous government. Today you don't even see them.
Okay, I'll come to you, Andrew Franklin, in regards to the KPRs in a bit, but I want to bring in Mr. Kilu here. And as Red Cross, I know obviously the terrain, just like it has been mentioned, is very, very challenging, but albeit you still manage to get to some of those areas. Do you think the government is using that as an excuse? Are they able to get more access into the place, given that as Red Cross you do it? Why can't the government do that?
I think generally, if I give an example of the mission on Tuesday, this was a joint effort. There was a government, the national government, the county government, the Kenya Red Cross, and the media was even involved in this operation. It was a team of around 50, a group of 50. So the issue is alluded to the fact that access could be an issue. It could also be insecurity in some of these areas, because it's a terrain you are not familiar with. And when you are moving, you're also guided by the locals, and fastness of the area and the distances and the challenges that come with this. We have even seen the government doing some bit of aerial surveillance just to support the ground crew. And as I said in another interview just shortly, that the other challenge with the air surveillance is the aviation maps are really different from the local maps. What I refer as Nadome in the map shows a different place, because there are no actually physical features that really say these are born in Nadome, so it will be referred to this.
Like
it's amorphous, it's a big grazing area. So even the aerial surveillance, some people would go in and say they have seen nothing because you told us to go to this Akwichatis. We go to Akwichatis, we don't see because that difference in the mapping area. Right. And we come back and say we have not seen anything. Then another group goes physically on the ground and says, yes, we have seen something in a way. So these are some of the challenges that all players, not saying the government or the non-government organization, but all the players are facing on the ground. Okay. And as I said, there is another joint team going to the ground again to really now try to consolidate the entire information into.
All right, I'll come to you, Andrew Franklin, and Senator, he has mentioned that KPR is one of the ways to go. What are your comments to that?
My comments are as clear.
Franklin.
Franklin.
Well, the senator has already pointed out the need to professionalize the Kenya Police Reserve. I think it's the fact that we see people, young men, walking around with AK-47s of all different types. We don't apparently have any standardization of weapons. We have no control over ammunition. You know, there's this proliferation of small arms. It makes for a nice secretariat. We have at least 2 of them in this country now. And we go to conferences. The fact that if you don't have the ammunition, there's obviously a lot of ammunition being expended up there. If you take a view of huge grazing areas where people are being shot as they're being hunted down like animals. So where's the ammunition coming from? It's either coming across our borders, which brings us into the need to control our borders, mainly with Somalia, but there is also problems with the Oromo in Ethiopia. So we need to actually get our border control in place. We also need to find out where the ammunition may be coming from internally, in the sense that we do have an ordnance factory outside Eldoret, which does produce AK-47 ammunition. And because it is a state corporation, it's owned by the Kenya Defense Forces, we don't know who their clients are, we don't know the capacities, the production, and the like. The fact, though, that the KPR is very important from the point of community policing, because they are, in fact, recruited from the communities. But without a very strong administrative police or administration police regular component, that is, full-time officers who are not necessarily from that region. The Barragoy massacre of, what, 28 months ago also included so-called reservists, who I would refer to more as tribal levies, who were in the wrong tribal district. They were also massacred by still unknown attackers who obviously had military training. The Capito massacre 6 months ago, 7 months ago. Still, we've never recovered all those weapons.
Right.
Now, these are important aspects because if we focus only on one, let's recruit more reservists, but we don't know who's going to guide them, who are they going to be their officers? In fact, there is a real problem, obviously, with local leaders who are more like warlords in that part of Kenya. This is not terrorism. This is more of tribal warlords. This is very different from what we're facing in the Northeast in the sense of the social dynamics, or along the coast with the MRC.
Okay. All right. Senator, I'll come to you. You wanted to say something?
Let me say something on what can we do. The senators, okay, the politicians and the professionals are always antagonizing who will do what. The politicians feel like they should go to the ground and leave the professionals in Nairobi or wherever they are. But still, we are thinking of a community conservancy unit where if, for example, let's say Nadome is occupied by the Pokots, they create a conservancy unit that will patrol the area, of course, reporting to either, normally the conservancy units are like the KWS, for example. They can patrol the area. Because they are very conversant with the terrain, they will know where and when they see the footprints, they will know these footprints are for the Pokots or the Turkana bandits. They know. And that, I think, will assist, because we had done that pilot in Isiolo, which worked. We have done it in Baragoi. When the county government came into place in Samburu, it was very, very strong on the group ranching and the community conservancies. I just don't know what happened between January this year and now. That is when everything is breaking down. They're pulling back the cars that they had given the community conservancy rangers. They had recruited a lot of them, and they're laying them off. And the moment that was broken down, we went back to the usual cattle rustling. But when that was in force since 2013, the frequency of raids subsided in Samburu North. But we tried to, as professionals, we tried to sell that idea to Turkana County. We tried to sell that idea to West Pokot. We tried to sell that idea to Tiati. But it was received with
mixed reactions and mixed feelings. Okay,
yeah.
I'll come to you, Senator, and let's talk about the issue of arms, which Andrew Franklin has brought in. What can the local government do to disarm? Because obviously these are heavily armed bandits. When we talk about people being shot, there's two things there. One, they have rifles or AK-40 or whatever. They have a gun. Number two, there is the issue of bullets. Where are they getting the bullets from? And this seems to be a constant supply, because whenever there is these killings, it's not just stabbing. It is they shooting. What can the local government do to ensure that we disarm?
I wish it was possible to say what you are saying, because the local government, which is the county government, have no power under the law to go and disarm. You see, you have your community who ended up arming themselves around where we have a problem. In West Pokot, we are about 9,000 square kilometers. But where I have a problem currently is a very small belt, Tarkwel, Umbolion, Kainuk area with the Turkanas. And same thing to Turkana. They have no problem in the interior of Turkana. It's just along the border here. Why did the people decide to arm themselves? For keeping themselves and because the government is absent. That is essentially. Now, and then number two, because of the harsh climatic conditions and no food, it has now ended up being survival for the fittest. Still mine, eat and survive, and then the other ones do the same.
From an advisory level, what would you advise the national government?
This is what I would advise the national government. When I was generating the amendment bill to the National Police Act in order to introduce the KPRs for them to be paid for some allowance, I found some very strange data. The same theater you are talking about, that is Baringo East, where Kamama is the MP, has no single KPR. No single KPR. Why? Because it was assumed that they can protect themselves. But KPR is not supposed for protection alone. It's supposed to assist the national government police to trace bandits. If Pokot bandits come to strike in Baringo, Tuken side, who is supposed to follow? The chief with Arungu? No, it should be this KPR. Now they are not there. In my county, I have only less than 28 along the border. 28 with very old guns, which, and I hear they no longer, the bullets are no longer being manufactured. So when you see this, it's like we don't have a proper commitment from the top. Countries like Uganda and Rwanda, they have something called community policing, where they even have a commissioner of police in charge of community policing. So it is very easy now to manage, because you ask if you give guns, how do we manage? So my first advice quickly to the government is rearrange and take over these KPRs and formalize it on all the communities. Because even any purported development from Pokot going to the disputed area between Pokot and Turkana can easily be attacked from Turkana, and vice versa. So for the only cure for that is for the national government to take over those activities. If there is a road, normally you don't do a road and it stops at the border. You do a road that goes across the borders, because it is part of Kenya, I mean everywhere. National government should do that. I wish they were able to do it, and we have been sitting down with the national leaders in charge of security. The last time we sat is when we have just seen there in January, and we gave a raft of measures, quick wins, middle and long term. To date, we don't know what has happened, and whenever we go to look for Ngaiseri and company, so that we know how far things have gone, you only see them coming like the way we have just seen coming, we are going to do this. And then sincerely, we should, if they walked the talk of what all those leaders from the 7 counties agreed in Boma, I can tell you will have gone a long way today.
All right. Yes,
just to add to that, when they went to Boma, they wanted to implement the Uganda model piecemeal, portion parts of the Uganda model.
Yeah.
The piecemeal, we should, if we are serious with the security of northern Kenya, and let's go to records that we need to be treated as Kenyans. When somebody is killed in Turkana,
do you feel like you're not?
No, we are not treated like Kenyans. Because when a Pokot is killed, it's no more cattle rustling. It is okay to die as a Pokot. It is okay to die as a Turkana. It is okay to die as a Samburu. It is okay. It is okay. It is okay. Because if it was not okay 50 years down the line, we wouldn't be talking of young boys defending themselves. It doesn't matter which side of the tribal cocoon they come from. A cry of a child is always the same. I don't know if men know this, but a child from any woman's womb
cries the same
way. The pain is the same. So when they die, if it is a Samburu, if it is a Turkana, if it is a Pokot, we still feel the same pain. I think women feel the most pain here. And let me tell you, nobody speaks for the dying nomad boys in the battlefields. When everything happens, when the 21 police officers were killed, we were here, speaking of the same thing that we are speaking of today.
So we talk about it, but nothing seems
in 2010, when the 42 police officers were killed, we were all over. The whole world knew of Baragoi, a small village called, I don't know, Suguta Valley. I don't know even where Suguta Valley is. It is an amorphous area. It is so big. It runs from Loyangalani down to West Pokot. It is so fast. But we just jump and talk. We are tired of the talk. Please, can the national government, can the political leaders, can the professionals, can the religious leaders sit and act? Can we put an end to these talks? Our boys are dying. Women are left widowed. We have more orphans. As we speak, I am the only one learned in the whole family. and I have to take care of 10 wives of my grandfather who was killed in 1992. 10 wives. So you can imagine, when will I ever move ahead? We have the orphans. We have added to a list of our orphans from the recent killings in Baragoi, the recent killings in Nadome. We are just adding the list of orphans, always, always. And when you go to politicians and tell them, okay, can you help me with this CDF? You are told, where you are working, go and help your family. When your family is found roaming around in towns, you are told, that is the family of Kanyaman. So-and-so is working. Why is she not educating her family? You see, we are just creating problems. You are putting pressure on professionals. You are putting pressure on us. And while nobody is talking about it, can we put an end to talks?
Okay. Mr. Kilu, as you traverse that ground and you get to hear what the locals are saying, what would your advice be now from that level of the ground? Right? Forget about the politicians and all the rhetoric and all the leaders and all the professional talk. What are the people on the ground saying?
Yeah, I think one thing is clear here, Mike, and having worked in the area for some time, since 2009 cholera outbreak, the Capedo operation, I think people are also tired, one, of living in fear. And as the professor and my colleague has mentioned, it's a belt. It's not the inside.
It's not the whole area.
It's not inside the Turkana. It's not inside the Samburu. Just looking at that triangle, it's just the belt along the borders. And these are the people who are living in constant fear. In 2009, we go to the same place. It's a cholera operation. People are already dehydrated in the bushes, no medical facilities, no roads. So we do air surveillance. As Kenya Red Cross, because of the magnitude of the operation, we requested for the deployment of Kenya Defense Forces. They brought army choppers, but nobody would go near them. You land to a place, you get some people who need a dehydration, you want to put drips on this kind, but they're not going. You take them to the hospitals in this place called Capedo. They are like, who is inside? Because the two can't move in one hospital. Mm-hmm. So it becomes an issue of fear factor.
So from your perspective, what's the way forward from the ground?
I think from the ground, I think people need protection. They need the assurance of where are they. I think the issue of border here has been something that has been mentioned over and over and over. Mm-hmm. In this operation, I remember we had to work with 2 district commissioners because the area belongs to no one. So I could only work with the nearest district commissioners. Mm-hmm. And the issue of border was also again coming up and said, no, this is not, we are here to provide medical care to the affected. But then the question is, where do they belong?
Okay.
And as Madam has pointed out clearly, they are also, I think it's a community that is now becoming to be orphaned. Mm-hmm. Kenya Red Cross is there to support them. We are there to help. But in terms of now linking this to developmental structures, it becomes a challenge.
They're left out.
Do I go to Turkana County or do I go to Baringo County? In terms of now linking to referral to health facilities, linking this to agricultural sectors and all these kind of things. Because we are working with both communities. Mm-hmm. We have no problem. We can penetrate to all areas. But the question is now trying to link from emergency to recovery. Because sometimes we go out for medical outreach. We have drugs and things that we need to live back. Which hospital do we support with these kind of things? Who do we hand over in case of we are doing medical evacuation? Do we work with this county or do we work? So there is a bit of orphanage. Right, and that becomes an alleged, and that has to be addressed.
Okay, Andrew, let's talk solutions. Where do we begin, security-wise?
Well, Michael, as I'm sitting here reflecting on 34 years of living in Kenya, I find it profoundly depressing because when I arrived in '81, the problem was raiders from Karamojong. There were problems with Oromos coming from Ethiopia. There were incursions from Somalia. We now find Karamojong has been sorted out by the Ugandans. We're killing each other now inside our own borders in northwest Kenya. The fact that aerial surveys, the maps don't reflect what's on the ground, at the same time as we're letting out oil drilling contracts for those areas. We've uncovered vast amounts of water, natural gas, petroleum deposits. And yet we seem to be unable to survey the interior. The notion that you can't find people on the ground when you can go buy a Garmin GPS unit all over Nairobi at this point in time is also absurd. But these are national government issues, national government problems. Security is a national government function. Until we start running roads into these areas, military grade, which are in fact all-weather terrain roads into these areas, so that we can move the police, we can move Red Cross, we can move people
So
around.
the first thing that should be done is access. We need access.
Absolutely, because in fact, that will open up these areas. When I hear about cattle rustling, I see cattle, I also know there are no abattoirs. Why are there no abattoirs? There are no abattoirs because there's no way to move the beef to market. You know, build those roads that we have the money to do, that we have 10,000 kilometers of roads notionally budgeted for to be allocated, and start reaching out from the center instead of building flyovers and interchanges in Central and elsewhere. And let's get our act together so you can actually drive up to the border so that it takes 4 or 5 hours. The notion that you could be 180 kilometers away from a problem and it's a few days away in the year 2015 makes
totally
absolutely no sense. So in fact, security is not just about having gunships, it's not just about having vehicles. It is an integrated, comprehensive solution, because we also haven't asked about what has been happened with the Kenya Defense Forces who were deployed to Capito in that area. Where are they now? They have armored vehicles that are all-terrain armored vehicles. Where are they? In fact, there were problems reported after Capito with villages being burned, notionally by Kenya Defense Forces units. Are they still deployed to these areas?
Okay.
Are they actively patrolling within the borders? Now, I appreciate the fact that there should be controversy raised in Parliament and also in the media about the use of the Kenya Defense Forces domestically. Because as I've pointed out on other occasions, this is like by using the Kenya Defense Forces internally, we don't in fact implement the National Police Service Act. We use the KDF as sort of a fire brigade to rush around putting out fires. But in this case, with another 100 dead, and by next week maybe another 200 dead, and perhaps we'll even have another lorry full of cops killed before this is over. This time this is over. But we haven't even figured out what's going on with the Kenya Defense Forces up there. And we don't have any joint operations centers being established where the KDF and the police will work with the locals. We do have an equalization fund that we know about where these areas get as much money as Nairobi will to bring them up to speed. And that's hearts and minds. And then you are correct, Michael, when you ask, what are the local leaders doing about making sure that pregnant women receive maternal health care?
Right.
Because that's what the money is for. The Constitution under the devolved system includes a whole laundry list of functions to be done by county governments. But the county governments, when you talk, the leadership apparently are not asking for the money to be granted so they can have the health centers. But how do you have health centers without roads?
You need roads. So access must be the first.
But this is not a question of, it's not impossible. I can sit here and you give me a map today and I'll start drawing roads on it. And if we can do single source tenders. I'm sorry, perhaps we'll lose
maybe
a bit of money.
you would do the roads. Okay, let me come to you, Senator. And there's what the national government can do. There's what the local leaders can do. My question is, what are you doing? Okay, one of the things, we appreciate that you've come to the studio to actually talk about this. But now let's just put facts on the ground. When you go back, what are you going to do to make sure that this thing is dealt with, this war in Turkana and the whole area, really?
My brother, I do what I've been doing.
Which is?
Which is to tell our people to change their ways of life. You talk to this community today because they normally live in manyatas. You talk to them, and then the next time you hear the neighboring warring community has come to attack them, then they make you look a fool. Because now they call you, you came and told us to really embrace this idea of peace. What do we do next? So it's a ritual. This is what I would give as a way forward, whether you are a local leader or a national leader. And if anybody dare to listen in Kenya and implement, it can work. You see, today we have spent a lot of money going to Somalia, which is good. We have a lot of money voted for in the current budget and in the proposed budget to take care of security. But this cancer called cat rustling is always alive and kicking with us as we continue doing our budgets, because none of it goes into mitigation of the same. This is what I would propose, that immediately the government creates a quick win by going to look for these cat rustlers. These are our young boys who can be traced. Harvest all of them from Turkana along the border, Pokot, Samburu, Marsabit, and so on. Take them for training quickly. Collect all of them and retrain them to become your tool, just like they were done in Uganda, for you to use as a government in order to sort out this problem. Caught all those boys, train them, and then release them now, not to go to their homes, but put them strategically in the disputed areas. And it's a mobile group, which if they have sorted out this problem in the next 2-3 months, they move to the next. And they work in the night and they work in the day. They do surveillance, they know it. If they can still be depended on as they are, with the no shoes and with the no clothes, how much more would we if we were able to formalize them? Then we can now talk of meaningful development. However small, nothing goes there today. So quickly do that, and then now as you have that group, the police post begins to come. Now in theater, again, constituency where I come from, we have about 4 police posts in the entire land, no single KPR. Mheshimiwa Kabama has repeatedly asked, and an approval was given of 360 KPR to be employed by government and to be given guns. And you know you're not giving them salary. And we are proposing now in the near future that they be given. Nothing has been done. It is agreed on a table the way we are sitting here, and then say yes, yes, yes tomorrow. It has never been done. So if we want to eliminate things, so we concentrate on the main enemy that has visited Kenya now, terrorism and so on. Just do this. Get people who know the terrain, and there's no harm to craft a strategy that can solve your problem once and for all, or reduce it to the level we don't even hear.
Mary, would you agree with him, and is it a solution to actually identify some of the local leaders, and I don't mean political or whatever, just local leaders in terms of elders and leaders who are recognized by the community, and educate them, then maybe disseminate this information to the rest?
I don't know. As a professional from the area, I'm tempted to say that the senator is not being honest with himself.
Why?
Because he says that he goes and tells the Pokot, stay calm and, you know, now embrace peace. Because I was in Sigor when he was campaigning. That is, Sigor is in West Pokot. And I heard him in one of the campaigns when he was campaigning. I heard him what he told the Pokots. But that notwithstanding, we need one. It is true that the local leaders, the opinion leaders, the community leaders on the ground should be empowered. They should be empowered in such a way that when you sit on a round table in Boma, in Poshi hotels in Nairobi, they are down there. You come up with resolutions, like they came up, for example, one of the resolutions they came up in Boma was, if the Turkana steal Samburu cattle, the Turkana community will have to pay. That is, they extracted it from the Uganda model, but that is not how it is done.
Are you saying it's not practical, it can't work in Kenya?
Not it can work in Kenya. That is just...
That's not what's happening.
It is they extracted something very small from it. If they had talked about it comprehensively, that they will use the local leaders to follow the animals, and then they bring it back. You, as the person who took the animals, is the one who is supposed to bring back and bring 2 more. You slaughter, you eat with your enemies and tell them, I am sorry I stole, but you have eaten my 2 cows, now I will never steal again. And you are told by your elders that it is true, you have said it by your mouth, you have slaughtered the cows.
In the interest of time, because we want to wind up, and I would want you to substantiate what you mentioned, that the senator, you were there during the campaign and he said something that is not maybe abiding by. Maybe clarify that, please.
Okay. in one of his rallies, which is so unfortunate that we have to talk about it here, he said that the Pokot border is in Lokichar. Yes.
Okay. I think we'll just, my director tells me the time is up.
Let me respond.
Very briefly, in less than 30 seconds.
Yes, in less than 30 seconds. Madam, I think it is not good for her, who was not in Boma when Gaiseri was chairing that meeting, to preempt and talk about a quick resolution that we gave. Let her get the document, the detailed document.
Then read it.
And then read it. Lastly, about myself, when I was telling the Pokot that an assumption, the people say Pokot boundary goes up to Lokichar. And Turkana say also theirs comes up to Sikor.
Senator,
we
I'm
have
sorry.
to sort it out.
I'll have to cut you short right there because of time.
Yeah.
We are really out of time, but let me take this opportunity to thank you all. Mary Enkai, who's an activist, Kioko Kilu, Emergency Health Manager, Red Cross. Thank you, Andrew Franklin, who's a security analyst, and John Lenyangopo, Senator, West Pokot. Thank you so much for making a very able panel in letting us know what's happening in Turkana and the solutions. Well, that's where we wind up State of the Nation this morning, but don't you go away because we're just about to get into the workout. And today, if you love Zumba, you don't want to miss this.